Welcome to Bass Talk with Hagen and Hayes. Today's topic is Tony Osborne. Susan, how are you?
I'm doing well, David. How are you?
Very well. What do you know about Tony Osborne?
Well, I know that Tony Osborne and you were very, very good friends, and he's quite a wonderful composer. I love a lot of the music that he's written. I've taught or I've performed a few of the pieces, and it's just great teaching music. Um, I currently with a bass quartet that I have at Berklee College of Music, we're
Mm.
performing the Pink Elephant because a lot of the music that we were putting on the program was very hard, very lot of practice required to it, and these students are pretty advanced, and I thought, "Let's toss them one piece that is super fun, a little jazzy," and it was hilarious because the first playthrough they gave was straight, strict, classical playing, and I looked at them and I said, "Don't you all go to Berklee? Can you make this cool?" And now it's just such a fun piece. They are having such a blast with it. Tell
It's a
us.
great piece, isn't it? That's before I got to know him.
Mhm,
In Britain in the 1980s, the mini bass was introduced,
mhm.
little quarter-sized thing. So it meant that younger players could start learning the bass earlier than we could. But suddenly there was no repertoire. There's no beginner repertoire, and whoever was teaching suddenly realized bass quartets were a good way forward, good way of introducing so many different skills. And they asked Tony to write some of these, and the Pink Elephant was one of these. And it's still popular now. It's 40 years later, and
Right.
he was an amazing composer because he just had the music at his fingertips. And I could say you've got 5 notes, Tony, 3 rhythms, and you can't do anything beyond that, and he could still write something which was fantastic.
It's
He
amazing.
just had that skill. He really was amazing. I just I was in absolute awe of his talent. I don't think he knew how good he was. I'm sure he didn't. I think to him it's just ordinary and normal, but he was just absolutely fantastic, and he was always great at writing music for younger players.
Yes.
And junior jazz was my idea. I like alliteration as a publisher. It always sells. And I said, "How about writing some jazz pieces for young players?" And I think he wrote, I think about 14 or 15 of these things.
Wow.
And, the titles were terrible. He was abysmal at finding titles. But then when I pushed him to find a good title, he was great. He was really, but he'd often just come up with the first thing in his mind and hoped it would get past me, which he never did. And he never learned that one. He should have learned that one really quickly. Because the title can kill a piece. If it's the wrong title, it just stops people playing it or learning or having any interest in it.
Yep.
But when I said, I think that's the wrong title, Tone. I think you need a better one. He'd always come up with a perfect title. It was really clever. Have you played much of his music?
Well, the first piece I ever heard of his was the Pink Elephant a long time ago. The first piece of his that I actually learned and performed was Gargoyles, and I learned that during the COVID lockdown in
Oh,
2020.
wow. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good piece. The first piece I commissioned from him was All in a Day's Work.
Mm.
And lots of these other little quartets before I'd met him were in a pastiche style. He was great skill at writing the style of others. And I said I wanted a piece which was Tony Osborne, not in the style of somebody else. And that was the first time when he started writing to this jazzy style. And he said he was influenced by Copeland and Bernstein and lots of other people. And all in a day's work. I remember we played the first movement, and within about, is it about 5 or 6 measures? Wow. Wow, this is it. This is it. This was stunning. And it's as good today as it was. It was 1994 when I commissioned it.
Okay. Wow.
And it's, yeah, it's a long time ago. But it's still, and again, the first title was terrible. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't All in a Day's Work. But the All in a Day's Work was Tony's title. When I said, I think you got the wrong title, Tony.
Yeah, that's a great piece. I love that one. The other one that he wrote that I really love is the Threnody for video.
Yes, that was amazing. That was written in less than 24 hours. I'd come home, it's on a Saturday. I've been teaching in London, and I checked my emails, And there was one from Mette Hanskov, my great friend in Denmark. And she said, "Did you know that the video had died? Had a heart attack in Germany earlier that week." And I didn't know. And he and I were great friends. The two families were planning to go on holiday together. We'd spoken on Christmas Day. We really were good friends. So it was such a shock. And we had Bass Fest, I think, the week after I discovered he died. And I just emailed Tony and I said, I need a trio for me, Teppo, Ataho, and Mette Hanskov to play. And I said, and the title is Threnody for a Video. And again, he was so happy when I told him what the title was. He was
That's the hardest part.
it sort of took that bit of the angst out of it. And so that was something like, I don't know, 7 o'clock on a Saturday evening. And by 3 o'clock on Sunday, he'd emailed it, faxed it in those days. He'd faxed it through to us. And
That's
and
a powerful piece.
it really is. And when I hear that first measure, first bar, wow, it takes me back to all those years ago. It's a long time. But but Tony had that ability, and he knew how distraught we were with Ovidio's death, sudden death. He was only 39. And I think he put that into the piece.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So cool. Well, Tony was an incredibly talented composer, and I think it's just wonderful that you have carried on the legacy of his music to continue to share it with the world.
We published a lot of Tony's pieces. Originally, recital music was just going to be music from the past or music out of copyright. And then when I met Tony, and he didn't really have a publisher for these things, then we changed tack. And I realized that, he was a really important figure in the bass world. And we became, best friends. We're really fantastic. Had a great working relationship. And I still have many pieces which are unpublished now because they were printed, but they're not digital editions. So I'm having to gradually go through them. But the new editions, the digital ones, means I can put 2 or 3 pieces together.
Right.
Which is even better. So I'll get there.
So everyone should keep an eye out on
Please do this. Great pieces. He wrote more bass quartets than anybody alive.
Amazing.
And it's based things like Green Bass Blues or Pink Elephant or All in a Day's Work. They're the ones that people know. But there are some really phenomenal pieces. Really. So gradually over 2025, 2026, I'm going to try and get all the bass quartets published.
We should put a link on the bottom of this YouTube
That would be great.
video
Yes.
of some of his music that people can check out. And this is such a great bite-sized podcast here about Tony. I think we should do a longer one about him in the future. So everyone should stay tuned for that. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. He was such an amazing character. And as I say, I don't think he knew how talented he was. He was just Tony. When I first met him, I remember Sarah said I put my suit on and my shirt and tie, so I was looking really smart. And then when you get to know Tony, he's the most sort of relaxed person ever. He never wore a tie. If he did, the tie was always the wrong length. I remember he was going to a premiere, and I had to tell him to undo his tie and redo it because he had a little bit of a paunch, and the tie was just sitting on the top of the paunch.
Oh.
I'm really sorry, Tony. I think you have to redo your tie. We were great friends, and I spoke at his funeral, which was 2018, and it's very, very sad. Very, very sad. He's such an amazing character, and such an amazing friend to so many. And I think all the bass players, even if they don't know him, through his music, they feel as though they know him, which is, I think, it's so nice. It's a nice legacy to leave, isn't it?
It's a wonderful legacy to leave. So let's revisit Tony. Everybody stay tuned for that in the future. And thank you for listening to a bite-sized podcast from season 3 of Bass Talk with Hagen and Hayes. Keep your eyes peeled and your ears peeled for some more coming down the pike.